Okay, let's jump right into this. Today's explainer is wild. We're unpacking a high school rivalry that somehow, against all odds, escalates into a massive international crime bust. It's a crazy story, but it perfectly illustrates how quickly everyday situations can completely spiral out of control and just how much darkness can be hiding behind a perfectly polished facade.
So, to really get into the meat of this thing, we actually have to start with a question that sounds totally absurd, but is 100% accurate. How exactly does a ripped pair of pants lead to the downfall of a political smuggling ring? Seriously, stick with me here, because every single detail matters in this massive domino effect.
Well, picture this. You have two totally opposite guys. On one hand, you've got our perpetually unlucky underdog, Carter. He's that guy who gets detention for food fights he isn't even in and whose Wi-Fi always seems to crash right at 99%. And on the other hand, you've got the flawless golden boy, Jake. He's tall, he's got polite manners that charm all the parents, and he is a total poetry in motion soccer legend. They are absolute, literal polar opposites.
Now, Carter is completely convinced the universe is just out to get him. And honestly, his day kind of proves it. He starts off by ripping his pants on a gate while trying to ask his crush Sarah to prom. Awful, right? Then he has to watch Sarah kissing Jake on the porch. And to top the whole shebang off, as he's walking home in utter defeat, he gets smacked right in the face by a soccer ball thrown by Sarah's blunt, loud hurricane of a twin sister, Kiki. But then, out of nowhere, things flip. During a crucial game, Jake gets brutally slammed by a rival player named Miles and actually has to leave the field. So Carter, our underdog, steps up to play striker, and with just 30 seconds left on the clock, he scores the winning goal. Just like that, he's a local hero. He's subbing in regularly, and within 2 weeks, he gets approached by a scout offering a life-changing Ivy League scholarship. Suddenly, his bad luck seems entirely cured.
That winning streak, though, it doesn't last.
Jake miraculously recovers from his injury early, and he hits Carter with that exact quote. You can practically hear the desperation in the guy's voice as he tries to write off Carter's success as just a fleeting fluke. Jake immediately reclaims his spot as captain, shoves Carter back to a useless fullback position, and basically does everything in his power to erase Carter's sudden rise to fame. Okay, so here's where things go completely off the rails, escalating from petty high school jealousy into outright sabotage. Carter sets up his phone in the gym to record a solo workout the coach asked for. But he accidentally films an altercation in the locker room where Jake is aggressively threatening another teammate, Marcus. Carter hides and leaves his phone behind. When he finally goes back for it, the phone is crushed to pieces. And the very next morning, a highly edited clip of that video, cleverly cut to make Jake look like the victim, is posted directly from Carter's social media account with the caption, "Jake is a psychotic freak." And Jake plays this brilliantly. He masterfully spins the whole situation into a narrative of sheer injustice. In the coach's office, he plays the humble, wronged captain, accusing Carter of being an attention-hungry traitor who faked the video just to steal back that Ivy League scholarship. And the worst part? The coach buys it hook, line, and sinker. Carter is instantly outcasted. He's getting elbowed in the ribs during practice and violently tripped by his own teammates. It is brutal. But instead of just taking it and accepting his quote-unquote bad luck, Carter finally decides to take control. He retreats to a dark janitor's closet and literally bumps into Kiki, who, amazingly, is sitting in the dark eating a sandwich to protest the socioeconomic class differences of the school cafeteria. Carter just unloads everything on her, and instead of brushing him off, Kiki actually believes him. Right then and there, they decide to team up, be proactive, and take Jake down. So they immediately turn into these incredible, low-budget teenage spies. They stake out Marcus's house by hiding in itchy bushes until they can tackle him for information. Then, Carter fakes a headache so he can search Jake's locker and shoes for evidence. Finally, Kiki casually interrogates her sister Sarah, who unknowingly drops a massive hint. She mentions she recently saw Jake taking some very strange, unnamed headache medicine. Now, this aligns perfectly with the intel they squeezed out of Marcus. Marcus confessed that the whole reason Jake threatened him was because he saw Jake buying pills from a shady guy in a back alley. He was handing over wads of cash and saying his future depended on these things. So naturally, Carter and Kiki connect the dots and completely believe the golden boy is secretly taking performance-enhancing steroids to heal his leg faster and cheat at soccer. Armed with this theory, Carter decides to go rogue. He sneaks into the heavily guarded compound of Jake's politician father and eavesdrops on them talking about a crucial package.
Then he tails Jake all the way to an old port down by the docks. Carter watches Jake meet up with a shady smuggler, but right as he pulls out his phone to film it, his cover is totally blown by a screaming seagull, and he trips over a massive rope, knocking himself flat. Let's pause right here for a second. What was the Golden Boy actually hiding? Up to this point, all the evidence clearly points to a cheating athlete trying to protect his reputation, right? But what Carter discovers on those docks flips this entire explainer on its head. That envelope didn't have any pills, buttface. It had precious stones. Jake wasn't buying steroids at all. No way. He was acting as a delivery boy for his corrupt father's political gem smuggling ring. His dad was smuggling precious stones to illegally fund his campaigns, and he was using his straight-A, perfect Golden Boy son as the ultimate, unsuspected mule. When you actually lay out the facts, the Golden Boy's true psychology is entirely flipped. We all assumed Jake was just a spoiled rich kid cheating at soccer to stay popular. The actual truth? Jake's dad was abusive and constantly blamed Jake for his mother's death. Jake didn't give a single thought to soccer fame. He was desperate for that Ivy League scholarship because it was his literal only ticket out of a criminal enterprise. He sabotaged Carter out of pure desperation, simply because Carter accidentally stole his one and only escape route. But back on the docks, Carter isn't alone. Just as Jake's smugglers are about to attack him, Kiki, Marcus, and the entire soccer team kick the doors in. It turns out earlier that night, Carter had accidentally shared his live location with Kiki. Realizing they had been completely manipulated by Jake's lies, the soccer team tracks Carter down, fights off these adult smugglers, and stands fiercely by their wronged teammate. It's an incredible moment. When the dust finally settles, Kiki calls the cops, who swoop in and arrest Jake and the smugglers. Jake actually cooperates. He turns on his dad's operation, and since he's a minor, he gets probation. As for the soccer team, well, they're so shaken up by the insane drama that they completely tank the finals. But they forge a true, unbreakable brotherhood. And most importantly, Carter secures his dream and gets that Ivy League scholarship.
Fast forward a year later. Carter and Kiki have both moved to New York. And even though he jokingly fumbles it a bit at first, he finally officially asks Kiki out. It just goes to show that despite his objectively terrible luck throughout this entire ordeal, from the ripped pants to the screaming seagulls, things worked out purely because of the proactive stand he chose to take. Carter's whole journey leaves us with this really powerful realization. Luck doesn't choose winners, choices do. When Carter was just sitting around complaining about his bad luck, he was nothing but a victim. But the absolute minute he made the bold choice to stand up, form a team, and investigate, he became the hero of his own story. So I want to leave you with this thought to chew on. How much of your own life is ruled by just waiting for luck to happen, instead of stepping up and making proactive choices? Thank you so much for joining me for this wild explainer, and I will see you in the next one.